First of all, this video has spoilers for The Last of Us Part 2, so if you haven't played it yet, I perfectly understand, but you've been warned. What a game, right? I didn't expect to see the thing golfing. But being serious, Last of Us Part 2 wasn't that bad. Wasn't great, had a lot of problems, but it did a lot of things right too. I don't think anyone will disagree that this was one of the most beautiful games ever created. Definitely one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in gaming. And the voice acting was top notch, at the same level as the previous game, if not better. Problem for me, and most people that have a problem with it, came from the story, and a little bit from the gameplay, but the problems I had with the gameplay are kind of entangled with the story. The story seems to be very polarizing. Some fans really hate it, and some fans really love it, and the gaming journalists would sacrifice their firstborn for it. Apparently. Feel like I'm stepping on everyone's toes by being in the middle. But here I go. Might as well start off with the meat of the matter, the golfing minigame. Joel dying wasn't a deal breaker for me. I expected it, and I'm sure tons of people did too. But how it happened rubbed me the wrong way. Two very unlikely, significant events happened in order for this game to happen. Let's put it that way. The first being Joel and Tommy giving out their names willy-nilly, immediately. Okay, maybe in between the time skip they got a lot softer, but it's still the zombie apocalypse, man, and you've killed a lot of people. Maybe don't give out your name like free candy. The first game literally started with Joel hunting down a guy because he screwed him over. So it's not like it's something uncommon in this world. It doesn't seem like Joel, someone who gives Jesse shit about being careful on patrols, would be so relaxed around new people, especially when they outnumber you. The second thing is Abby and her friends not just letting Ellie live, but Tommy as well, after killing Joel in front of both of them. I mean, they're taking this from a moral high horse, so I can see them probably letting Ellie live, but they know Tommy and Joel are brothers, and Abby is there to avenge her father, so don't they think that Tommy might do the same thing? But all that ass pulling happens so that the game can start. You love Joel from the first game, they killed him, you're angry, now there's a point, now the game can start, right? For the first half of the game you play as Ellie, and then you start playing as Abby, and that's where things get weird. Because for this game to work, this section needs to make you care about Abby and her very forgettable friends beyond being a subject of your vengeance. I did not care at all about Owen, guy with hat, pendejo guy, pregnant lady. She was there? Oh shit, she was there! It didn't help at all that the entire second half felt very heavy-handed. It was like the director was right next to me saying, hey, you see that guy? He frees giraffes. He goes out of his way to free giraffes. You should like him and feel bad if anything happens to him. Also, the flashbacks and the flash forwards in the second half was just very disorienting. And now the final part of the story that I have a problem with was the ending. Remember when I said my only problem with the gameplay was entangled with the story? Yeah, this is what I mean. Now, by the end of the game, you have, as Ellie, created enough corpses to put together to make a mountain comprised of men, women, pregnant women, and dogs. I killed so many people the same way it became tedious after a while. Ellie now joining the ranks of Freddy and Jason as a slasher. After all that, after even leaving behind your wife and child, Ellie decides to not kill Abby. Now there are two justifications that keep popping up for why this happened. The first one is Ellie forgave Joel, she remembers that, and decides to forgive Abby. Now the reason that this doesn't make any sense is that she's in too deep at this point. Whatever compelled her to do everything she's done isn't going to just snap and disappear when she just remembered something that she should have remembered a long time ago. Maybe the adrenaline of the whole thing kept her from seeing things rationally then, but she went back home, had a whole bunch of downtime. That is the time for any revelations you needed to have, not this emotional whiplash moment that they gave us. It would have made more sense, honestly, for Ellie to just die. Like, she chose revenge, she was consumed by it, and in the end it destroyed her. Now, the fans who hated this game would have hated it more if she died, but at least it would have made sense for the direction they chose to take Ellie's character in this sequel. The other justification is that Ellie saw Joel in Abby because she's taking care of Lev and seems to really care for him, which mirrors Ellie and Joel. And that makes more sense than the first one, but still is kind of off because it's the same reason the first one was off. I just think that what we got felt pointless, but it was a point, right? Revenge bad, forgiveness good, but it could have been expressed in a better way. But here's the thing though, this is still a brave game. It takes dense, heavy nuts to kill off your main protagonist. Kill off half the reason people are excited about this game, half the reason people bought this game. And I don't want criticism to stop people from making bold decisions like that. Reasonable criticism should be an aid to making better stories in the future, I think. Well, that's it. But, it's easy to criticize, but I wanted to end this by giving my own version of the story like everyone and their mother already did. At least try, for fun. My version starts in advertising. This would be marketed as an Abby game. All trailers thing would be focused on Abby. As far as anyone's concerned, Joel and Ellie's story is done in Last of Us 1. It's not called Joel and Ellie, it's called The Last of Us, so we can use different characters. The story would start with Abby and her friends leaving their camp to go to Wyoming to find an unspecified person who wronged them. Also, pregnant lady wouldn't be 7 to 8 months pregnant, she would be 2 to 3 weeks pregnant, taking Dina's storyline of going without telling them she's pregnant, because having a 7 to 8 month pregnant lady out in the field doesn't make any sense. It would be like 7 of them, and the first half of the game would be them traveling across America as a group, us as the players getting to know them and the relationship they have with each other, them overcoming trials. Maybe we lose 2 of them along the way as they're fighting infected, meeting strange, dangerous characters, or just, strange characters. At the end of the first half of the game, the group finally enters Wyoming and finds out that the information they got on the location of the person they're looking for might not be legit, which splinters the group, making everyone just want to give up, except for Abby, who's still dedicated to getting her revenge. And at that point, they're ambushed by another group, probably the slavers we saw at the end of the actual game. And another one of them gets killed and the rest gets captured, but Abby manages to escape. After her escape, Abby runs into a man calling himself Eddie, who the players immediately recognize as Joel, and Eddie is after the same group that just ambushed her, because they have also captured his brother. So the third quarter of the game is Abby and Eddie Joel adventuring together to get their loved ones back. After adventuring with her for a bit and getting to know her and seeing how similar she is to Ellie, Joel reveals his true name and invites Abby to come back with her and her friends to Jackson when everything is over. At the end of the third quarter of the game, Joel and Abby are attacked by a bunch of clickers. Joel gets himself into a tight situation and calls out for Abby's help, but she decides he's able to take care of the clickers, but not before getting a bunch of bites. As Joel is bleeding out, that is when Abby decides to reveal her true identity and why she is after him. But then more clickers come in and we cut to a flashback of the same flashback from the game of Ellie confronting Joel about what happened with the Fireflies. Flash forward back to present day, and the players are now controlling Ellie, who's just found out that Joel has disobeyed orders and left camp by himself to rescue Tommy, so she also disobeys orders and leaves camp to rescue Joel. She manages to track him down to where the clickers attacked, and she takes out all the clickers one by one, real stealth-like, only to kill the last infected, who is Joel, who recently turned. Ellie finds Abby trapped and hiding from the clickers and dealing with her own demons, and decides to continue where Joel left off and go to rescue Tommy, and Abby gets her shit together and follows Ellie to rescue her friends. They both infiltrate the enemy base, kill a bunch of people, kill the guy in charge, and rescue their loved ones. But at that point, Abby lets it slip that she got her revenge against Joel. Ellie hears that. That turns into an argument, which turns into a fight, which turns into a final boss battle. Ellie using very unique weapons versus Abby using all the weapons you've used and upgraded throughout the game. After Ellie defeats her, Owen begs for her life. That's when Ellie finds out that Joel killed Abby's father to rescue Ellie, and Ellie decides not to kill Abby to end the cycle of violence that Joel had created. Ellie leaves with a barely conscious Tommy, tells them to stay the fuck out of Jackson, and then we end with the cosmonaut flashback. Well, that's just my version of it. I'd love to hear your version in the comments. Also, how awesome would it be to have a Ellie Clementine crossover? I say it would be as awesome as it is unlikely.